on KTN Prime.
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
The Hague trial kicks off as Ruto and Sang deny the charges.
Divorcing the ICC, the Senate votes to disengage Kenya from the ICC.
And impeaching Kidero. The County Assembly plots Kidero's downfall.
Also tonight, tragedy in Meru, 7 people killed in fuel tanker explosion.
This is KTN Prime with Lindah Oguttu and Kitili.
It was riddled with controversy, but finally the day came and Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto took his position in the court at The Hague.
Ruto became the first ever sitting deputy president to be tried at The Hague, but that case is now due to be adjourned tomorrow evening.
As always, we're covering this story for you in a way that only we can. And in a short while, we'll be crossing live to The Hague, where Rita Tinina has been keeping an eye on what's been going on there for us. She has been keeping tabs on that since Saturday. We're also live with reactions from the home turf of Deputy President William Ruto, and of course our North reporter Masi Kandia has been keeping an eye on that for us. Masi Kandia is standing by and she will be bringing us details of what's going on the ground. Good evening, many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime. This is The Hague trial. A very good evening to you on this chilly, rainy and windy night here in The Hague, where it is a little past 8 p.m. We begin in court, where legal teams have been battling all day as the historic trial against Deputy President William Ruto kicked off. William Ruto's defense team tore into the prosecution's case, terming their investigations as shoddy. The prosecutor accused William Ruto and his co-accused Joshua Arap Sang of being behind the killings and evictions during the post-election violence. KTN's Sam Ogina has the highlights of day one of the Hague trial.
Provided transport, food.
Kenya's deputy president becomes the highest-ranking state official to be tried at the ICC in his official capacity, facing charges of murder, deportation and persecution constituting crimes against humanity alongside co-accused Joshua Arap Sang. The two denied all the charges.
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
This opened the historic trial of a sitting deputy president, with the prosecutor claiming Ruto and Sang were members of a network with a common plan of evicting PNU supporters from the Rift Valley. The prosecution contending that Ruto had an insatiable quest for power, while Sang provided the platform for execution of the common plan through his vernacular radio program.
Mr. Ruto, as a powerful politician, for his alleged role in planning and organizing violence to achieve his political ambitions and satisfy his thirst for political power.
The prosecution will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the two accused, Mr. William Ruto and Mr. Joshua Sang, are criminally responsible for the attacks in Turbo, Greater Eldoret area, Kapsabet and Nandi Hills, and that they should be declared guilty of the crimes charged against them.
The prosecution has lined up 22 witnesses, with the first one expected to testify Tuesday next week. Bensouda says in executing the common plan, Ruto and Sang used influential individuals, including politicians and businessmen, to finance and plan attacks on Kikuyus from the Rift Valley.
Many victims and witnesses have been too frightened to come forward. The very fact, Mr. President, that I stand before you at the opening of this trial today, Your Honors, is something of an achievement in itself.
But Ruto's defense fired back in a blow-by-blow rebuttal tearing into the prosecution's case.
This was a carefully planned, coordinated, and executed campaign of violence, specifically targeting perceived PNU supporters.
And Madam Fatou Bensouda was asked not once, not twice, at least 3 times, whether or not she had a strong case. She declined to answer to the journalists who were asking free-range questions that yes, she was confident she had the right man.
Ruto's lead counsel Karim Khan accused the prosecution's office of conducting sloppy investigations and relying on watchdog reports in place of an independent probe.
What Mr. Ocampo did is latch onto an infected information stream. It was convenient, it was easy, it may even be described as lazy prosecution, lazy investigations.
This as the victim's lawyer pitched for justice for the victims of the 2007-2008 post-election violence.
This repeat victimization is being further spurred by the general public and the media. And it is fashionable to hear virtually every other day that, quote, Kenyans have moved on, unquote.
Sang challenges the prosecution's case in his opening statement Wednesday. Samugina, KTN.
True to their promise, scores of legislators left House business back in Kenya to accompany Deputy President William Ruto during the opening of his trial here in The Hague. Earlier on, we caught up with some of them, and as we found out, they have no apologies to make for being here. Nearly 2 years after the case against him was confirmed by pre-trial chamber number 2, Deputy President William Ruto's historic date with the trial judges at the International Criminal Court was finally here.
What are your expectations today?
The Deputy President arrived at the ICC shortly before 9 a.m. Hague local time, accompanied by his wife Rachel and the Kenyan ambassador to the Netherlands.
What do you think about
Local and international camera crews jostled to get the best shot of the first ever sitting deputy president to be tried here. And not even the persistent questions by members of the press would prompt the deputy president to betray his feelings ahead of his date with the judges.
Just one comment for you. You've got a message for your supporters. A message for your supporters.
Ruto's co-accused radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang, who celebrated his 38th birthday on the eve of the start of the trial, arrived moments later. The arrival of the two was preceded by that of legal teams. William Ruto's lead counsel, Karim Khan, was among the first of Ruto's team of 6 lawyers to arrive.
We're ready. We're looking forward to the start of the trial, and not long for you all to wait.
But it was Kenyan members of parliament who kept the usually quiet front entrance of the court busy. The MPs who travelled to The Hague in support of the deputy president arrived 1 hour before the scheduled start of the trial. They camped at the front entrance waiting for their man.
Kesi pia inahusu sisi wote kama wa Kenya.
We are confident that he has no problem because the highest court is the vote of the Kenyan people, and the Kenyan people voted.
We've come to give moral support to our leaders.
We are here to see what the court is going to do. All that a suspect or an accused person is supposed to do is to present himself to court.
In violation of Article 718.
And after the first 4 hours of proceedings, Trial Chamber 5A took a lunch break. The deputy president left the courtroom for his lunch break, but still, he was saying nothing to the press. But members of parliament who had filled the public gallery of the court emerged from the opening session, and they were more vocal.
We are leaving at the end of the weekend. Another batch of members of parliament will come, and we'll be at The Hague as long as the case is continuing.
The MPs are in The Hague as their colleagues back home undergo an important induction course. But Duale says this is worth missing everything for.
or this is more of a state matter than the election of the members of parliament. Right.
Now, earlier on this afternoon, before the court adjourned the day's sittings, there was the clearest indication that perhaps the trial will be adjourned tomorrow until next Tuesday to allow the prosecution to prepare its witnesses. And in the last 2 hours or so, a communication from the office of the Deputy President indicating that William Ruto will travel back to Kenya tomorrow night to arrive in Kenya on Thursday morning, but also that communication indicating that Ruto will then travel back to The Hague on Monday next week in time for the resumption of trial on Tuesday, but that is if the prosecutor will apply and be granted an adjournment by the case. We will keep an eye on things for you from this end, and tomorrow we'll see how things play out in court. For now, I hand things back to you, Ben, in Nairobi.
Thank you, Rita. KTN's Rita Tinina, they are coming to you live from The Hague in the Netherlands, just bring you the latest from the ICC trial, today being day one. And we have just seen from that story some of your members of parliament leaving some legislative duties behind to accompany Deputy President William Ruto at The Hague and show solidarity. And on the big question tonight, we are asking you, are the MPs accompanying Ruto justified to be at The Hague? Please tell us what you think. Send us your yes or no opinion to 22155. We are asking you, are the MPs accompanying Ruto justified to be at The Hague? Tell us what you think. The SMS number is 22155. You can also tweet us at Ben Kitili, at Lindah Oguttu, and at KTN Kenya. Lindah, take us through the ICC process now.
Actually, the ICC process, let's look at the members of parliament who made their way all the way to The Hague to accompany the deputy president and, of course, Joshua Arap Sang. Let's look at the trial process that they went to witness at The Hague. Let's first of all begin with the charges that were today read to the suspects at the International Criminal Court. Those charges were read to the suspects. Let's see, the Deputy President William Ruto and, of course, Joshua Arap Sang are accused of murder, deportation, and persecution. And according to the Office of the Prosecutor, these crimes were committed during the 2007 and 2008 post-election violence. These are the charges that are read to them today. And of course, if you have been following the entire process today, the two suspects allegedly denied the charges that are read to them by the court. And let's look at the whole process, because this is just the beginning of that trial at the International Criminal Court. And what happened today, we saw the reading of the charges, that is murder, deportation, and persecution. And both William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang denied the charges. So, of course, this sets the process for the International Criminal Court. That happened today. What we are looking at here is that the presiding judge wanted to make sure that the suspects understand the charges that are read to them. And of course, he got that through their defense counsel. Now, after that, we'll have the prosecution's evidence. The Office of the Prosecutor will be expected to give the evidence that they have against the suspects, the evidence that they hope will convince the judges that the suspects are actually guilty of the charges that are read to them. After all that happens, we'll get the chance for the defense as well to bring in their cases. Now, what I've forgotten to tell you about the prosecution's evidence is that the prosecution, the Office of the Prosecutor is also expected to bring in some of the witnesses, the men or women that they expect will give some weight to their case. We expect the defense to cross-examine. We expect the defense to cross-examine the witnesses that were brought in by the Office of the Prosecutor. Then it will be the time of the defense to also bring in their witnesses. We expect the Office of the Prosecutor to also cross-examine the witnesses that will be brought in by the defense. After that, of course, we expect the judges to give their decision in the shortest time possible. If either of the parties is not happy with the decision that the judges will have arrived at, then that sets the president for an appeal. Of course, that will happen in the appeals chamber, which is a 5-judge bench. Ben, that is the process that we're looking at the moment.
Yeah, we could be here for the long haul, of course.
Yeah, this is going to take a while, because the evidence that's going to be given by the Office of the Prosecutor and, of course, the defense, that's going to take a while.
Yes, we shall be talking to a man who is well versed on those issues, the Senate Majority Leader Kithure Kindiki. He will tell us more about that. Thanks, Lindah.
Great.
Of course, it was day one of the ICC trials, and Kenyans across the country were following proceedings keenly at The Hague, and that as well in Eldoret, that is the hometown of Deputy President William Ruto, and of course as well radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang, where our very own Mercy Kandie has been following proceedings there to just bring us the reactions from the North Rift. Over to you, Mercy.
Yes, thank you very much, Ben and Lindah Oguttu in Nairobi. We are live from Eldoret town, and residents here were able to catch the proceedings live from restaurants and social joints, as they're not able to view the live proceedings that had been cancelled by the ICC outreach program. But the highlight of the day from this region is that there was a press briefing today held by elders and local leaders from the Kalenjin Council of Elders and the Kikuyu Council of Elders, and also the clergy. And the highlight of the press briefing is that they were saying that they are expecting that members of the community from the North Rift region to testify in the ongoing hearing at The Hague. And they just wanted the people to let the people know that their testimonies should not be viewed as the testimony of a particular community. And they are confident that the peace initiatives that have been ongoing within the region, in the North Rift region, that they are strong enough to sustain the region. And they are urging the North Rift to set the example that they had set since the general election and uphold peace. Today we focus on the Deputy President, William Ruto. We filed a story for our audience at home, and we visited Kamagut area in his village, and this is what they had to say. Take a look at a story we filed earlier on. 47-year-old William Kipchirchir Samoei Arap Ruto was born on December 21st, 1966 in Kamagut village, Uasin Gishu County. The Kenya's deputy president is now in The Hague for trials on 3 charges of murder, persecution, and forceful transfer of masses. Back in his hometown, life seems normal. Residents mingle freely, even as Ruto, miles away, faces what has been described as a fight for his life.
Ni deputy yetu yenye tunapenda hapa hivi. Sasa tunaombea kabisa Ruto aende kushinda hiyo maneno yenye iko arudi nyumbani. Tunampenda.
At Ruto's parents' home in Kamagut village, there is silence, very little activity going on here. His mother traveled to Nairobi to see his son off as he left for The Hague. We visit Kambi Kuku, the popular spot where the deputy president is said to have sold chicken here to make a living in the 1980s, the product of a life struggle that branded him as a hustler.
Ruto mwenyewe ndiye alianzia hapa na ameendelea. Na hata sisi wengine wameanzia hapa na wako kwa kazi zingine.
I sit with them, listening. The stories they have heard about The Hague are mainly informed by the media. They tell me they will follow the proceedings. They have to, but as they work, they hope to get live proceedings from the local FM stations.
Hiyo ni matumaini yangu, naombea Mungu amsaidie, sababu hiyo msalaba amechukua sio yake, ni wananchi wote.
Hatujaona maneno, yeye ni kijana ya nyumbani, tangu akiasoliwa anasema asola, tunajua vile aliasola. Maneno ingine ile hatujui.
William Ruto attended Kamagut Primary School after finishing his advanced levels at Kapsabet Boys in 1985. Ruto graduated from the University of Nairobi with a Bachelor of Science in Botany in 1990. 2 years later, he became the organizing secretary of Youth for KANU, and in 1997, the Member of Parliament for Eldoret North constituency. William Ruto became an assistant minister in the office of the president and was later appointed minister in charge of Home Affairs in 2002 and later the Minister of Agriculture in 2008. But on October 2010, he was suspended by the government on corruption charges. He was appointed to head the Ministry for Higher Education before stepping down as a presidential candidate for Uhuru Kenyatta in late 2012 and on April 2013 sworn in as Kenya's first deputy president. William Ruto and Sang's trial kicked off today and will run for 3 consecutive weeks. It has been a long journey for the man William Samoei Arap Ruto, hailing from the humble backgrounds of Sugoi village to becoming Kenya's first deputy president. The general feeling here in his hometown as The Hague begins is that they wish their leader well. Marcy Kandie, KTN, Kamagut area, Uasin Gishu County.
Let's stay with issues concerning the International Criminal Court, and the Senate has endorsed Kenya's latest plot to quit the International Criminal Court.
Senators allied to the court coalition boycotted the vote, the motion giving Jubilee senators a free hand in the outcome. And as KTN's associate editor Noah Otieno now reports, just like the National Assembly, the Senate will now prepare a bill for Kenya's complete withdrawal from the Rome Statute, which established the International Criminal Court.
The motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
As expected, Senate Majority Leader Kindiki Kithure successfully pushed through the Senate a motion to quit the Rome Statute, which Kenya ratified on the 15th of March 2005. Again, as expected, the debate was a court versus Jubilee affair.
It looks like the prosecutor is an extension of the opposition politics of Kenya, and where they could not win, they are trying now to come through the back door, thinking that the president can remain there and they will furuga here and take over.
Me, Elizabeth Ongoro, if one day I want to become president of this nation, all I have to do is to eliminate everybody and all my competition, and then ascend to the presidency and say that now that I'm a president, I cannot be prosecuted.
What we are doing now is actually adding fire to the fire that is already burning our two heads, because we are irritating the prosecution process at The Hague. Why has the United Nations Security Council, part of the Big Five of which are not even signatories to the Rome Statute, refused to open the doors to Kenya to state its case, Mr. Speaker?
Former Attorney General Amos Wako, who was at the forefront of the ratification of the Rome Statute almost 8 years ago, and Siaya Senator James Orengo warned the members that withdrawal from the ICC would send a powerful but negative message to the international community. But this only drew a stronger defense from the Jubilee side.
The fact that we have withdrawn will not stop the Security Council in future from referring those cases to The Hague if a similar situation occurs in Kenya under Article 13B of the Rome Statute.
Go to Addis Ababa, if you go 10 times, 100 times, the cases will not come back. If you go before the Security Council can only defer the cases in terms of Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter, when there's a regional conflict, not in any other situation.
That we are not going to sit here as Kenyans to see our president and the deputy president being crucified in a foreign land.
Subjecting our country to a court that does not understand the cultural values, the cultural expectations, the practices of our forefathers.
When the Senate Speaker Ekwe Ethuro was preparing to call the mover Kindiki Kithure to respond to the contributions, the CORD senators walked out en masse.
As of that opinion, say aye. Aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say no, the ayes have it.
Like the National Assembly motion last Thursday, this now opens the door for a bill to be introduced within the next 30 days to trigger the official withdrawal from the Rome Statute, though it will be up to the executive, led by President Uhuru Kenyatta, to effect that move through the Attorney General. Now, KTN Prime.
Let's now bring in the Senate Majority Leader, Professor Kithure Kindiki, to just shed some more light on that particular piece of business today in the Senate. Welcome to us today, sir.
Thank you.
Now, what exactly does your motion seek to achieve? I mean, we've seen Sudan is not a member of the ICC, but President al-Bashir is still a fugitive.
Sudan is not a member of the ICC. The indictment of President al-Bashir is on the basis of warrants of arrest as a result of the referral of that situation by the UN Security Council. The UN Security Council is a political process. That means for a country, if our country withdraws as we have proposed, it should, and we have no apologies to make, it means the only route left if there are crimes against humanity is we must punish those crimes ourselves, and that is the best case scenario. In the alternative, we are willing to go through a political process because the ICC has become a political court, which is the Security Council route. We will deal with those politics rather than pretend there is a legal process through the Rome Statute that our country can be using going forward.
Now, there's something Kenyans have been interrogating. we formed, or rather Kenya formed, or joined the ICC, joined the Rome Statute, signed the Rome Statute, so that we can be able to solve issues that, like what happened in 2007. Now, a few years down the line, we want to withdraw. What happens if, God forbid, the country was to go through what happened in 2007, 2008?
What happens is that next time we will punish whoever orchestrates crimes against humanity and massive human rights violations in our country. I also want to inform Kenyans, we are not the first country to do what we are intending to do. America did it. In fact, they signed it and withdrew their signature 2 years later. And the reasons that the President of the United States used to pull America out of the Rome Statute are the same reasons I advanced today when I was moving the motion for Kenya's withdrawal.
Now, just a couple of years ago, Parliament, you were not a part of that Parliament, they said don't be vague, go to The Hague, because apparently the Kenyan judicial system was not good enough to deal with such cases. What has changed so much in the local judiciary that we think now we can deal with such cases?
The fact that Kenyan leaders made a mistake does not mean that mistake cannot be corrected. So it's an irrelevant argument to say that the fact that the 10th Parliament committed to a serious neglect of duty by exposing our country to the kind of humiliation we are seeing now in a foreign country does not mean that the 11th Parliament should also perpetuate that kind of negligence. Two, what has changed? In fact, so much has changed that recently when a vote was taken by 13 judges of the International Criminal Court just last week, 9 of them actually said those cases should be brought to Kenya, and they said the judiciary has reformed, there is capacity to prosecute, and the only 4 judges, because there were 13, and none of them was a Kenyan, because the only Kenyan judge who is there could not participate. The 13 of them that voted in the negative explained actually they were swayed in the last minute by a letter written by a single Kenyan. No. So a lot has changed, and if the white people out there in the ICC, the judges themselves are saying our institutions have changed, it defeats logic that we Kenyans are the ones, some of us even opposing and saying that we don't have a strong judiciary.
No, we've seen what happened in the Senate today. We have seen a lot of opposition from the CORD coalition. They boycotted that sitting today, citing fears that they will put Kenya in bad light internationally. Now, we've seen a lot of Jubilee members of Parliament going to The Hague to be in solidarity with Deputy President William Ruto. We have seen this push to withdraw from the ICC has been largely fronted by your coalition. Isn't this just because it is Deputy President William Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Not really. First of all, walking out of the house is a cowardly act. What our brothers and sisters should have done would have to remain in the house and vote no and oppose my motion. Walking out is a defeatist attitude. And the fact that you are losing a motion doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Even us, I expect at some point we may have to lose a motion when we don't have numbers. So this idea of walking out and shouting at each other is a bad culture. Number two, I think for those who have traveled to be with the Deputy President, I think it's within their right. But as you have seen also, the numbers are modest. Like for us in the Senate, we actually had intended only 4 senators to go, and we'll be sending maybe 2-3 senators every week, and only for actually very few days, 2 to 3 days, so that we don't paralyze the work in the Senate. So I think there's nothing too much to read from this. And
if it was someone else who is not a member of Jubilee, would Jubilee front this motion to withdraw from the ICC?
Any Kenyan, and we kept on emphasizing, and if you look at my motion, I've referred to the 3 citizens of Kenya who are charged before the ICC, and that includes Joshua Arap Sang. As to the question whether politicians would have traveled to support Joshua Sang if the other politicians were not there, I am not so sure. But the example I'll give is this. When a wizard dies, that funeral will be full of wizards. When a businessman has a function, many people in that function are likely to be businessmen. So when a politician has an issue affecting them, it's natural you expect politicians to hang around there and give moral support.
Thank
to
you, Prof.
Follow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure.
Thank you. Talking to the Senate Majority Leader, Professor Kithure Kindiki, just shedding more light on that Senate motion which was passed to withdraw from the ICC. And we did see earlier at The Hague a number of members of parliament accompanying the deputy president to be in solidarity during the trial which began today. And on the big question tonight, we are asking you, are the members of parliament accompanying Ruto justified to be at The Hague? Are the MPs accompanying Ruto justified to be at The Hague? Keep sending us your yes or no responses, plus a few comments, of course, to the number 22155. We shall be sampling some of them during and at the tail end of this live newscast. You're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for being with us. Still ahead. City in crisis and move to kick out Kidero gathers pace.
Nagaona nimefanya hasara kabisa. Unaleta sukari ya mtu, mahindi pande ya pusa, alafu wanakuja kumwaga yote. Na sikunywangi kabisa, hata siwezi lamba. Kuna wateja wenye wanakuja asubuhi sana kutest.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Let's look at carnage on our roads once again. 7 people died at Iraru Bridge in Meru County where an oil tanker exploded following a road crash.
The accident involved 3 vehicles. 5 of the victims are believed to have been members of one family.
12:30 p.m. at Iraru Bridge, commonly known as 72 Bridge in Meru County. 3 vehicles involved in a grisly road accident still in flames, an accident that claimed 7 lives. According to eyewitnesses, the driver is said to have lost control of the oil tanker, which hit a RAV4 vehicle. That vehicle, a 14-seater matatu, which was trailing the tanker, rammed into it. The tanker then exploded and burst into flames.
Ni bahati tu hiyo mafuta wakati limwagika hakuna wananchi walikuwa kwa barabara, na je wangekwako wangechomeka wangapi? Na pia wakati hiyo tanka haija mwaga mafuta yote, bado ina mafuta na wananchi bado wanaikaribia wakiwa wanaangalia ni nini inaendelea, na ikilipuka si ndio tutakuwa na maneno mbaya kama ile ya pale Sachuani.
Hivyo imeanguka pande ile ikarusha moto ikafikia sisi watu wa Nissan, moto ikaingia kwa Nissan yetu. Sasa sisi tukarukia kwa madirisha na tukaweza kuepuka.
All 5 occupants in the RAV4 died on the spot. 2 people believed to be the driver and the conductor of the tanker also died. However, the police say they are yet to confirm the number of people in the tanker as the bodies were burnt beyond recognition. The occupants of the RAV4 vehicle are suspected to be family members believed to have been on their way to a burial. Angel Katuse, KTN Prime.
Bad news there from Meru County, and to some more bad news affected by the Nairobi County strike. 3 premature babies have died as a result of the city-county strike that began last week.
The babies died as they were being transferred from Pumwani Maternity Hospital to Kenyatta National Hospital. Pumwani Hospital was officially closed today.
This is Nancy's 3rd child and perhaps the most difficult birth. She gave birth to her preterm baby last week as the county workers went on strike.
Mwendo wa saa 5 hivi ndipo daktari alipokuja kwa wadi mahali tulikuwa tunalala, akatuambia amka saa hii tunawahamisha, hamstahili kukua hapa, hospitali imefungwa. Enyewe kila mmoja wetu alishtuka, maana wengi wa hao watoto mnawaona hapa walikuwa kwa oxygen, walikuwa na shida ya breathing.
Pumwani Maternity Hospital does not have a preterm transportation incubator. Instead, 16 mothers were told to carry their babies close to their chest, what is known as kangaroo care. It helped to keep Nancy's baby and 12 others alive, but not all 16 mothers were lucky.
We received 16, but 3 were in critical condition. We lost 3 on admission.
With the ongoing city-county strike, a number of patients have been transferred not just to Kenyatta, but Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital in eastern Nairobi.
We're also facing a challenge of space. As you can see, we have really put our babies squeezed together. 2 or 3 or 4 in a cot.
Vile tumekuja huku hatujui kama tutalipa because most of the mothers they are unable.
Sadly, Nancy and her fellow mothers from Pumwani will have to pay for the cost of neonatal care since it does not fall under the free maternity health care program.
By Thursday, whoever will not have come, well, they have forfeited the space for another Kenyan who would want to work.
Meters from Kenyatta National Hospital, city mortuary workers have told Kenyans to collect the bodies of their loved ones. The mortuary has been closed and will only open if council workers go back to work. When that will be is anybody's guess. City council workers, including council nurses, have been on strike for a week, demanding the implementation of a collective bargaining agreement that would see their salaries increased by 40 to 60%. And they seem adamant that until their demands are met, Nairobi city operations will be paralyzed. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Effects of the Nairobi County Workers' Strike now in its second week. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the world of business, and I take you to KTN Joy Doreen Bira in the business studio. Over to you, Joy Doreen.
Thanks a lot, Ben. Well, tonight I'll be telling you how some people have lost their livelihoods in Elbagon as well as Timboroa, and that is after the government's sanction on timber that is about years ago, but also just ahead.
Oliver twist. Nzoia cane farmers demand better work modalities.
And fat cat underwater, taking fitness to a whole new level.
Tweet of the day in association with Imperial Bank Arsenal Debit Card.
It's the second day of the week. Let's take a look at business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. A state-sanctioned ban on logging meant well for the country decades ago. However, the communities that relied on the business, this meant loss of their livelihood, as our reporter Phil Keitani recently found out in the towns of Elbagon and Timboroa.
The sight of dilapidated, leaking and rusty rooftops welcomes you to the townships of Maji Mazuri, Elbagon, Mau Summit and Timboroa, a clear evidence of the dramatic decline in the fortunes of the once vibrant towns.
Kufikia pahali mashini ilifugwa ya timu ama mashini zile zingine. Shida ikaigia, tukawa na shida hapa Maji Mazuri. Hata watoto wetu wakakosa masomo na wakakosa kazi.
This sorry state of affairs in this part of the country follows a ban on logging slapped by the government on timber traders in the late 1990s, following fears of an environmental disaster as a result of large-scale deforestation in government forests. A thriving timber trade in the last decade led to economic boom in the local trade centers due to the demand for timber products.
Maisha ile tuko nayo si maisha zuri, sababu tunategemea kulima forest kidogo na hapa kuna tabu mingi.
The ban, though popular at the time, has been blamed for causing timber scarcity in the country, with over 300 sawmills closing down countrywide. At the moment, residents insist that close to 95,000 acres of mature forest plantations, valued at 36 billion Kenya shillings, is going to waste. Forests that they say can turn the fortunes of these towns once again. Philip Keitani, KTN Business Today.
Sugarcane farmers around Nzoia Sugar Company have demanded for proper modalities to be instituted before the farm is disposed of. The farmers joined by the Millers Workers Union at a meeting held at at Bukoli Market in Bungoma County rejected a plan presented to them by the Privatization Committee of the Kenya Sugar Board. The representatives of the board, led by Sugar Board Director Saulo Busolo, in their presentation indicated that shares of the company would be sold to individuals. The farmers opposed this move, indicating that they too would be interested in owning a piece of the factory. The workers' union also asked the committee to put in measures to secure their employment terms with the company before it is put for sale. Nzoia is among the 6 state-owned sugar mills that are lined up for privatization as part of enhancing their efficiency. The Bungoma meeting, however, ended prematurely as a section of the farmers accused Busolo of trying to destabilize the operations of the miller.
If privatization is done, we are going to have a problem on the workforce. Some of them might end up losing jobs, and we are not ready to support the exercise.
Kulima kama wanataka kununua kiwanda cha Nzoia ama hawataki.
Now, professional services are among many small-medium enterprises, which are rare. For those who are lucky to get such services, it comes at a heavy cost. However, Safaricom Limited has come up with a platform to streamline the operations of the SMEs, as well as help the tax-collecting body to easily manage collecting funds from this growing market segment.
My name is Violet Omboa. I do a business called Networking in Hills.
Like every other business that is starting out, Violet had her share of challenges as she sought to grow from a startup to a small business.
Most of my challenge was communication. So you find that phone bills ran up, using internet was crazy as well, and getting in touch with people who would attend the event and also sponsor the event was a problem because of communication.
On top of that, she was forced to pay an accountant to manage her accounts to ensure she complied with the tax demands.
When KRA come, they'll take you down, you and your excuses.
It is only until last year she became a beneficiary of the Safaricom SME solution that her business got some relief.
We'll not only register your domain, we'll host your domain, we'll give you storage, we'll give you email connectivity, and we'll give you access to a whole bunch of software services.
Through the service, Safaricom aims to streamline the SME sector in the country, as well as help them raise revenue for the exchequer through tax management. This will also help small businesses get into the line of the much sought-after credit from commercial banks in the country. This new suite of services by Safaricom is exactly what the country needs, because it not only gives SMEs access to professional services such as accounting and payroll management, it also makes it easy for them to comply with the country's taxation system. This will net the government more revenue by increasing the number of people it has in its taxable pool and negate the need of the government to raise taxes on average Kenyans to find monies to fund its projects, even as it makes the SME sector more vibrant in the country. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business Today.
Thanks, Adelaide, for that report. Now, the Kenya shilling didn't perform quite well yesterday. Let's see if there's any improvement in the financial markets report. And well, that's it that we had for you in this edition of KTN Business Today. I hand you back to Ben with more news.
Thank you, Joy Doreen, bringing us up to speed with the latest happening in the economic and corporate world. On this day, that of course, the big story that we're following for you is the first day of the ICC trials.
And let's tell you that big story. You're watching KTN Prime on this 10th day of September 2013. And this is our top story tonight. The trial has opened in The Hague of Deputy President William Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang. The two ICC suspects denied charges of crimes against humanity, accusing former prosecutor Luis Moreno Campo of conducting shady investigations. Defense and prosecution teams presented preliminary video evidence seeking to strengthen their cases. Ruto's lead counsel, Karim Khan, described his client as a peaceful man who had tried to unite Kenya ethnic communities. The prosecutor accused Ruto and Sang of perpetrating killings and evictions in Eldoret during the post-election violence 5 years ago. Sang's lawyer, Katwa Kigen, is due to give his opening statement tomorrow.
And of course, that is the big story we are covering for you. And a number of members of parliament have accompanied the deputy president on his trial at The Hague. And we had asked you on the big question, are the MPs accompanying Ruto justified to be at The Hague? Some of your responses. Maurice Aaron on Twitter says, as long as they're using their own money and carrying their mandate to the people as usual.
Right, Stanley says, these are idlers who have too much money from SRC to waste shopping at The Hague. They're embarrassing my country. Peter says, no, that's wasting taxpayers' money and time. They should be doing things here that are useful to this nation.
Chatwebby says, MPs flocking to The Hague, whereas commoners are getting a beating from VAT laws. Kenya is not a failed state yet. Just about. Very harsh there.
So those are your opinions on our big question tonight. Thank you for writing in. You can keep writing in because we'll be sampling some of them just before we end this bulletin. Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. We are taking a short break, but Nicholas Mudimba is up next with the day's sports.
All right, thank you very much, Lindah. And of course, today we'll be focusing more about athletics and of course the new position Paul Tergat has on the IOC. Stay tuned to KTN. The National Sevens coach to be unveiled next week.
Watching KTN Prime.
All right, welcome to KTN Sports. Today I'm Nicholas Mudimba. The National Olympics Committee is rushing against time to ensure that they overcome logistical nightmare with 3 championships under their watch led for under 9 months. The local Olympics body met with sports associations with a view to coming up with a concrete plan for the Youth Africa Games in Gaborone, Botswana in May next year and the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in July.
All the sports disciplines expected to participate in the African Youth Games in Gaborone, Botswana in May next year, the Commonwealth Games in July 2014, as well as the Youth Olympic Games in August of the same year have been given their quota. This was done by the National Olympic Committee. Qualifying competitions for the Games starts in April the 1st to June the 8th next year, with rugby the only team exempted from qualification, since the Rugby Sevens team has a slot already for the Games due to the impressive show in the past competitions. But even as plans are in top gear to ensure that the country enters more track and field disciplines, federations have been warned over cheating in the Youth Games.
Federation that cheats, we can take measures, we can ban them, and then the government can take action by instituting, legal action against these people.
With under 9 months to the Games, it is rush against time, and federations have been given 2 weeks to draw a budget for the 3 championships.
As National Olympic Committee, we have already submitted what will be the requirements in terms of budgetary provision to the to the Ministry of Sports for consideration.
Kenya plans to select a total of 248 athletes and officials for the Commonwealth Games, 205 for Africa Youth Games in Gaborone, Botswana, as well as 177 for the Youth Olympics. For KTN Sports today, I'm Hassan Juma.
Now to some sad news now. Sofapaka striker Bob Mugalia is still recovering from injuries sustained from a gang. Mugalia alleges that the suspected gang followed him to his house before stabbing him and making away with cash and electronics. Victor Gale reports.
Bob Mugali has not had a perfect season, having begun it earlier in the year with a series of injuries that saw him miss a couple of matches. However, just when he was putting all that behind, another career-threatening incident hit him a week ago. Mugalia was attacked and stabbed on his hand by suspected thugs at his house in Nairobi's Ngumba estate, who had trailed him and his friend from town after they had withdrawn cash from the bank on Monday evening. The thugs got away with cash amounting to 250,000 shillings. They also carried away electronic equipment from the footballer's house.
Kukakaa kidogo, tuko na stima imepotea. Stima kupotea, nikauliza rafiki yangu, kwani stima imepotea aje na tumeweka stima jana? Akanambia maybe twende tuangalie hapo nje mahali tunawekea stima. Kutoka kidogo, si kupiga hata step 5, nikakutana na watu njwalo wamenidunga.
Injury has left the international striker out of training and active play for more than 2 weeks at a time when the Kenyan Premier League is at fever pitch, where all clubs are fighting for maximum points to finish in a respectable position.
First 11 sitakuwa, lakini hope I think even second half nikiingia kwa game, even 10 minutes, I think dasaidia timu yangu na tutapata ushindi.
Mugalia, who has now joined this statistic of insecurity in the city, says the incident has not punctured his dream of helping his club win the league. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.
All right, I'm Nicholas Mudima. That's it for KTN Sports today. But Linda and Ben have something for you before the bulletin ends.
KTN Sports in association.
And earlier we did ask you a big question, of course, a story that was we were covering for you. A number of MPs accompanying the Deputy President on the first day of the trial at The Hague. We were asking you, are the MPs accompanying Ruto justified to be at The Hague?
Let's see how you polled so far right there on your screen. 75% of you say no, 25% of you say yes. Let me sample part. Some of the the 25%, Melike says that is private travel. Only complain if they're on per diems and government travel cost. They are therefore justified.
Dorothy Wamboa says no and yes, if only a few go to support. Rather, they should be back soon for eliminating VAT on consumer goods.
Maurice Aaron says as long as they're using their own money and carrying their mandate to the people, as usual, we really don't mind.
Interesting, yes, from Kirsten Della says, is it me or is...
don't read that. No, do not do that on air. No.
Okay, I won't.
You're watching KTN Prime, and we thank you so much for watching and for being part of it. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Lindah Oguttu.
Many thanks for joining us on your most qualified news bulletin in town. But just before we go, before we wind up our bulletin, on a lighter note, cats too do go to the gym, and one particular cat weighing 31 pounds, that is about 16 kilograms, has been enrolled into a fitness program to shed off some of that extra fat.
And for some reason, the workout is actually underwater.
When he turned up at an animal shelter. He's working out 3 days a week at a rehab clinic. The water holds up his weight and is easier on his joints. Wolverine has nothing on this gal. Lola has 5 claws on one arm. A fishing crew caught her off the coast of Massachusetts and donated her to the Maine State Aquarium. The aquarium manager says the 5-pronged claw is a genetic mutation. And Ernie would love this giant rubber ducky in China. It's on display at the Beijing Garden Expo Park.
So that is how we end KTN Prime.
And you're just sitting there while cats are going to the gym. Do something about it.
Sleep well. We'll see you tomorrow.
Many thanks for joining us. Good night.